Welcome to the Thrift Store Kitchen Review, where I test all the weird junk from the thrift store so you don't have to. Welcome to this week's episode of the Thrift Store Kitchen Review. Twinkies have been around basically forever, except for that time they weren't. Back in 2012 and 2013, you couldn't get them because the company had gone under and hadn't found a buyer to sell their brands out to. Well, during that time, a machine was produced where you could make your own at home, and it gave you recipes in order to do that. And I found it. This is the Hostess Twinkies Maker, and I found it at Revive Consignment in Woodstock, Georgia for $13.99. So let's go ahead and unbox the Twinkie Maker. This thing is being stubborn. This thing appears to be brand new in the wrapper. You have your manual right here. It has your instructions and the recipes to make the Twinkies and the filling. And Twinkie filling sounds exactly as healthy as you could imagine it was going to be. You have a piping bag, which you use to inject the Twinkies with the filling. And then you have your Twinkie machine, another device that appears to function and look exactly like a waffle iron with 6 little receptacles for the Twinkie batter. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to go get the mixer plugged in, and we're going to start with some Twinkie batter. So for the sake of time, I didn't go through the entire recipe for the batter, but this right here is the recipe from the book for the classic Twinkie batter. So now that's almost done, what we need to do is preheat this machine once the batter's ready, and it says that the Twinkies will cook in about 4 to 7 minutes. Now, in my experience with practically every single one of those waffle iron style devices, that 4 minutes, they're probably going to be done, and anything else, they're going to be burnt. So I'm about to shut this down, get plugged up, and then we're going to make some Twinkies. Okay, the green light is on, so that means this is ready to cook. Now, what's weird is that the manual says that the batter recipe is for 8 Twinkies, and then there's 6 holes in this machine, which it refers to as cavities. So it says to spray the cavities and fill them each about 3/4 of the way up. I went ahead and transferred the batter to a bowl that has a spout to make things easier, not to mention I want to clean out the mixing bowl because I'm going to need it to make the filling. Okay, so all those probably need a little bit more in this one, are at about 3/4 of the way. So I'm going to close this, and in 4 minutes, we're going to see if they're ready to remove yet. All right, we're at the 4-minute mark, so let's open up the machine and see how it's looking. Now, the ones in front seem to be burning a little on the top. The ones in the back definitely don't feel done yet. So this seems to cook slightly unevenly. I don't want to overcook our Twinkies, but I'm going to leave them in there just a few seconds more. Now, the other thing I have to deal with, it tells you to take them out, but it doesn't provide a tool, nor does it suggest how to get them out. So we'll conquer that in just a moment. All right, let's take another look. Yeah, I definitely want to get these out of the machine, and I'm going to try to gently remove them because I don't want to damage them, which seems like is going to be a bit of a challenge. That one seems to have broken in half, and there's still batter coming out. So it's been 5 minutes, they're not done, and the top is burning a little. So I'm going to give it about 1 more minute and we'll try again. All right, time to check one more time. See if I can get these out without damaging it. I'm using a knife this time instead of the fork. There we go. That one's going to come out. Get the others. They do have a decent texture to them, at least the feel when I touch it with my hands. Trying not to burn myself in the process. You'd think they'd have had the sense to come up with a tool, and of course the ones on this side, look at that. These are done, this side isn't. Unbelievable. Another quality product out of China. I'm going to give these a few more seconds and see if I can remove them. All right, let's see now. Try this one on the back end. There we go. And then the front one. That one finally does seem to be done. So 5 of them came out successfully. 1 of them didn't. I guess at least this way I can taste the actual cake part and see if it's any good. Definitely has a bit of a heavier texture than a normal Twinkie, and I think it's a bit sweeter than a normal Twinkie. But what we need to do now is I need to let these cool, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and make the filling. Okay, so the filling is almost made. Here again is the recipe from the book. I did not go through the whole process of making it just for time reasons. Now, this seems to be about done. It describes it as needing to be about the consistency of mayonnaise, and it looks like it's about there. So what I need to do now, after I stop the mixer, is somehow transfer this into that pastry bag, and then we're going to fill our Twinkies. Okay, so here we are with the Twinkies again, and I've gotten some of this to the bag. It's just a messy process. I'm thinking maybe like a condiment bottle or something might be a better option than this bag. But what it says to do is basically pierce the underside of each Twinkie and inject it 3 times right there. Now, this is just a pain trying to get the filling down into the right spot in the bag. I can't even tell if it's making it into the Twinkie. Like, I thought Twinkie filling was supposed to be fluffy, not as they describe it, the consistency of mayonnaise. Is this even coming out? Yeah, but really, really slow. And now it's coming out the top too. God, this is a mess. This is an absolute mess. This has to be the worst way I could have ever imagined to do this. Is it even in there? It doesn't even feel like it's in there. I mean, I'm just following the recipe from the book, and look at this disaster. It's all over my hand. I'll be right back. I gotta clean this up. Okay, I am back. I'm gonna try to at least get some of this gunk into a couple of these. This is just an outright disaster. And look, now it's, can't tell, is it leaking out the bottom? Yep, and the bag's broken. All right, you know what? I'm just gonna put some on here. Just wipe it on here at this point. You know, maybe a different ingredient like corn syrup, or a different ingredient than corn syrup would have been an option, or maybe add some, I don't know, water to the mixture to thin it up. But this is a friggin' disaster. I'll be right back. I'm gonna throw this away and wash my hands again. Okay, so before I eat this, for reference, here's an actual Twinkie. So let me go ahead and unwrap this. and we're going to do a little comparison. Now I'm going to eat one of these disasters, see if it tastes decent. Yeah, it's a heavy, sugary mess. See, this is a regular Twinkie. It's light, it's spongy, and look at the filling. It's not this heavy stuff that you can't even push through the bag. It's a light, almost whipped cream texture. That is what a Twinkie is supposed to taste like. This doesn't even come close. What a piece of junk. So before I get rid of the Twinkie maker, I'm going to clean it up and we're going to give it one final test. We've seen this alleged Twinkie maker completely fail at making Twinkies. We're about to find out if it's useful for literally anything and see, will it glizz? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and spray the front two cavities. Again, I'm going to put a little bit of Twinkie batter in here. Then I am going to put half of a hot dog in each of them. Then I'm going to cover the hot dog with more batter. And now I'm getting this everywhere. I'm going to tell you this right now also. This machine was one of the absolute worst to clean that I've used yet. So I'm going to let this cook and we're going to check it in just a few moments. All right, time to check our Twinkie dogs. The cake part looks about done. Let me dig these out, and the bottom is still leaking batter, so it's going to be another couple minutes. So the tops are going to be slightly burnt. Unfortunately, to get enough batter to cover the hot dog, we had to fill it up further than it should have been. So likely the reason for this is that the top surface is making direct contact with the batter. So I'm going to let it cook a little longer and we'll check it again in a minute. I really hope these are done by now because I at least want these to be where they're not too burnt to eat. Okay, that is about perfect. Let's get this one out. Okay, so at least the tops are the only part that's a bit burnt. Now, before I unplug it, let me just cut this open and make sure the hot dog's the right temperature. It sure is. So let me unplug this. Now these are still really, really hot, so I'm going to give them about a minute and then I'm going to try them. Alright, so these should be about cool enough to try at this point. So let me take a bite. Honestly, not bad. A little bit overly sweet, but it's a weird corn dog-esque flavor, so it can make Twinkie dogs better than it can make actual Twinkies. So I'm going to get the area cleaned up just a little, and then I will be right back to give you my final verdict on the Hostess Twinkie Maker. So what is my final verdict on the Hostess Twinkies Maker? Well, it's bad. Like, real bad. Like, this is one of the worst devices I've tested yet. The machine itself, it cooks unevenly, and it's very difficult to clean. And the sad part is the machine is actually the best part of the whole process. The worst part either goes to that filling bag or the manual with its god-awful recipes that give you the impression that whoever wrote it and came up with the recipes never actually tried a Twinkie and may have simply seen a picture of one and thought that's how you were supposed to replicate it. The cakes themselves were very heavy compared to a regular Twinkie and had so much sugar that they would give a regular Twinkie diabetes. The filling was the absolute worst part. The line in the manual about it needing to be the consistency of mayonnaise, like, as I said, did the person who came up with this ever actually put their hands on and try a Twinkie? That's not even close to the proper consistency. And trying to move the filling from the mixer to the bag was a horrible process in and of itself. And then that thick filling wouldn't even come out of the bag. Like, how do you even use this thing? Next, you bring in the fact that these recipes were not easy to make and had just a very large amount of ingredients, and it makes for just a giant waste of time and money. Now, any self-respecting company would not have put their name on a product where the quality is this low. But when this came out, the Hostess Bakery was in dire financial shape, and I'd imagine they were willing to basically sell their name for any money they could get their hands on. And because of that, they came up with this piece of garbage. I don't recommend this. I don't recommend anything about it. It's literally one of the worst products that I've ever touched. Well, thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Thrift Store Kitchen Review. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and TikTok, which are both linked in the description below. Leave us a line down there in the comment section. Tell your friends about us. Get out there and support your local thrift store. And have a wonderful day.